I was probably here around about 3.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I just come out every now and then by my bike. I was riding because there's the mechanic shop up there.
Okay.
I was gonna come through here because that's leads out where that is. But I seen him, and then I seen this woman. She was walking down, so I told her to call you guys. Yeah, so I told her to call you guys. Then I went to get some help from different people, and that's all I know about it. He was laying there like that when I got here, and that's all I know about it.
So you've not seen anyone near him, or you've seen him land, as he...
Okay. Okay. Can I just take your name?
So just to confirm, you've been riding along here around 3ish.
Yeah.
Was it 3 bang on, or was it after 3? Because it's now
Can't really remember, but it was around the
near to 4. You've then seen the lady in...
3 mark. Okay. No, I've seen him, and then as I was looking around, I didn't touch him because that could put me in that case.
Okay.
But I was seeing her, she was walking there, so then, yes, so I came and told her to call the police, and then I went and got him, and then him.
Okay.
You are now 15 years old. You've pleaded guilty to 2 counts of causing grievous bodily harm with intent, 1 count of assault, and 1 count of murder. You've also pleaded guilty to the offence of possessing a bladed article, namely a knife, in a public place. I must now sentence you for those offences. You are still a child. You're only 14 years old at the time of these offences. But most right-thinking people would struggle to comprehend that what you did over the course of just 3 days in January last year were the actions of a child. Beginning on the 19th of January 2025, you engaged in a campaign of serious violence against different people, culminating in the fatal stabbing of Leo Ross. Leo was an innocent schoolboy who was just on his way to meet a friend in the park. At just after 3:30 in the afternoon, on the 21st of January 2025, you stabbed Leo with a knife and left him to die. Leo was only 12 years old. The devastation that you have caused to so many lives is hard to comprehend, and for those who knew and loved Leo, almost too great to bear. You have robbed Leo of his life and his future. What you did to your other victims is no less shocking. All of your offending took place in Tritterford Mill Park, in Yardley Wood, Hall Green, adjacent to Priory Road in Birmingham. The park is not far from where you lived, and you used to frequent the park on your bike. She is now aged 83. She was 82 years old last January, but still independent and able to go for a walk in her local park with the help of a walking stick. She was in the park around lunchtime on Sunday the 19th of January. When you approached her from behind and pushed her forcefully down and forward into a ditch, found herself soaking wet up to her knees when she tried to stand up. As she did so, she remembers you saying, quotes, "I tried to drown you, but now I'm going to kill you instead." End quotes. Upon saying that, you started to beat her around the head with it. She tried to defend herself by putting her hands up, and you hit her on her hands instead. You caused multiple injuries, including several bruises to her face, head and eyes, a deep cut to her head which required stitches, a broken nose and black eyes. She also suffered a fractured rib, and the bones in 2 of her fingers on her left hand had been broken into several pieces. These fractures required a 3.5-hour operation and fixing with pins. The savagery required to inflict such injuries on a defenceless elderly lady as she lay on the ground is hard to imagine. Balancing these aggravating and mitigating factors, I've reached the following conclusions. The significant aggravating features of planning and selecting a particularly vulnerable victim result in an uplift of 2 years from the starting point. Taking account of all the mitigating features identified above, reduces that uplift to 1 year. I therefore consider that the minimum term in your case is 14 years before taking account of the guilty plea. As to the guilty plea, although not entered at the earliest opportunity, it was clearly appropriate to await the psychiatric report before considering fitness to plead and subsequently your eventual plea. I also note that you had indicated from as early as July 2025 that you would hold your hands up and say that you had done it. In these circumstances, I consider it appropriate to give the maximum credit for plea, which is 1/6 for murder. 14 years less 1/6 reduces the minimum term to 11 years and 8 months. I must now deal with the other offences to which you have pleaded guilty. I'll make it clear that I treat each of these as separate offences. As such, the sentences imposed for each will be taken into account by increasing the minimum term for the murder count. I deal first with the assault. Applying the relevant guidelines, this is a Category A offence for culpability. As for the murder, there was significant planning or premeditation, and there was a victim who was obviously vulnerable due to age and personal characteristics. She used a walking stick. As to harm, this falls into Category 2, as the injuries caused. This gives rise to a starting point for an adult offender of 7 years, with a range of 6 to 10 years. There are no aggravating features not already taken into account in fixing the starting point. The mitigating features in your case are that you have a mental disorder and that you have had a difficult childhood. Taking these matters into account warrants a reduction from the starting point to a sentence of 6 years, 6 months before discount for plea. The appropriate discount for plea for this offence is 1/3, reducing the sentence to 4 years, 4 months, had you been an adult offender. Of course, a substantial reduction needs to be made on account of your age. Bearing in mind your age at the time of the offence and the need not to apply the guidelines on sentencing children and young people mechanistically, it seems to me that a sentence of just under half of that for an adult offender would be appropriate in your case. That would reduce the sentence from 4 years, 4 months to 2 years. Had I been sentencing you for count, the sentence would have been 2 years detention and training. As for the attack on Miss Christie, this would be a Category A3 case, given that harm was thankfully relatively minor. That gave rise to a starting point of 36 weeks custody and a range of high-level community order to 1.5 years custody for an adult offender. Taking account of the same aggravating and mitigating factors as for counts 3 and 4, results in a slight reduction from the starting point to 30 weeks custody. The reduction for plea then reduces that to 20 weeks. The reduction for age reduces that further to 9 weeks. That level of sentence would have been unlikely to attract a custodial disposal in youth court. Thus, whilst I do take it into account in setting the minimum term, its effect overall is marginal. Finally, in count 7, which is having an article with a blade or point, that is already reflected in the starting point for murder. Accordingly, I impose no separate penalty for count 7. Taking account of totality principles, the sentences for counts 3 and 4, namely 2 years and 2 years respectively, and the sentence for count 5, warrant an uplift of 1 year and 8 months to the minimum term identified above. Accordingly, the minimum term in your case is 13 years.
So I'm Joe Davenport, DI for West Midlands Police.
And you're the Senior Investigating Officer?
That's right, yes. I'm the Senior Investigating Officer for the murder of Leo Ross. Okay, so I have a statement on behalf of myself and the Westons as well, who are Leo's foster family. So this was a tragic and random act of violence which killed an innocent young boy. We welcome the sentence of Leo's attacker to life in prison. We will likely never know why he decided to attack Leo, who was completely innocent. We hope Leo's family can take comfort in this, even though nothing can bring him back. Leo's mother, Rachel Fisher, said, "My son Leo was the sweetest, most kind-hearted boy. He didn't have a bad bone in his body. My baby's life was stolen for no reason whatsoever. My life will never be the same again without him, and he will be loved and missed forever." Leo's foster family, the Westons, who are behind me now, have said that no sentence can ever undo or compensate the loss of Leo, nor return him to us. Our family will live with this pain forever. Leo was taken from us for no reason in a senseless and unprovoked attack of violence. He was deeply loved and should still be here laughing, living and sharing life with us. We miss him every day. Our world has been torn apart and his absence has left a permanent void in our family, one that can never be filled. While we acknowledge the court's decision today, it marks neither closure nor healing. It is simply another step in a journey of grief that began with the murder of Leo. Our focus remains on remembering who Leo was, not how he was taken from us. Thank you.
Are you happy to take some questions? Shocking. What we've heard today is completely and utterly shocking. What are your thoughts on what you've heard today? And also, how traumatic was the investigation?
So, first of all, I'd just like to pay credit to the strength shown by Leo's family throughout the entire process, so the investigation and the hearings at court. Today, listening to the harrowing evidence and the information which came out regarding the offence and how it was carried out was difficult to hear for everyone. The strength they've shown has been amazing. With regard to the sentence, as I've said in the statement there, no sentence will ever be enough. However, the fact that the person involved has a life sentence and will be on life licence gives some comfort that he won't be released until it's safe to do so.
How difficult, though, was it for you and your team to investigate something like this? A 14-year-old essentially killing a 12-year-old vulnerable boy.
Yeah, it's an extremely difficult investigation. As you can imagine, many of the officers involved have children around that age, so it's an extremely challenging investigation, as I say, to keep your own emotions out of it, to remain focused. But ultimately, that's been achieved. The evidence has been obtained, and the person involved was left with no choice but to plead guilty.